Though there are a large number of demonic entities scattered all across the Doom franchise, we're pretty sure that there's none as terrifying as the Old Ones. These mysterious and malevolent entities are part of a pantheon of eldritch, godlike beings at the center of the demon apocalypse sweeping the medieval world. There's no better way to describe these things than Lovecraftian. The more you dive into their stories, the scarier they become. Thus, in this marvelous video, we will uncover all the mysteries behind the Old Ones from Doom: The Dark Ages. But before we move on, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It might just be a small click for you, but to us it means an awful lot. With that out of the way, prepare to be terrified, because here we go. Who are the Old Ones, and what is their origin? Eons before the events of Doom: The Dark Ages, the Old Ones were giant, godlike beings, whose powers were instrumental in shaping the fabric of creation. Though they were extremely revered beings, like all things, they eventually withered and died. In a desperate bid to resurrect these fallen gods, a sorceress of great power, known only as the Witch, forged a pact with Prince Azrak. In exchange for the resurrection of the Old Ones, the Witch offered the allegiance of the cosmic realm. Based on this, Azrak later acquires the Heart of Argent, a relic of ungodly power that he uses to resurrect 3 of the Old Ones. These reawakened entities, serving now as the Doomslayer's jailers, imprison him deep within the cosmic realm. But the Slayer, ever defiant, rips the Maker Tether core from his bindings, triggering a cataclysmic blast that obliterates the 3 Old Ones. Enraged by the second death of her gods, the Witch joins Azrak in a direct assault on the Doomslayer. In the brutal clash that follows, both suffer a crippling defeat. While Azrak is slain, the Witch's physical form is also destroyed, which banishes her soul back to the void of the cosmic realm. When do you encounter the Old Ones in the game? The Old One is a boss you'll face in Mission 21, also known as the Final Battle, which is triggered only after taking down all the Titans, and just before the showdown with Enhanced Azrak. Compared to most of the other boss fights in Doom: The Dark Ages, this fight is surprisingly easy and straightforward. But then, you always have the option to crank up the difficulty sliders, which makes things far more troublesome. Interestingly, the Old One doesn't go through any complex phases or transformations, making it feel more like a breather before the final fight. However, do not make the mistake of considering the Old One a total pushover. Every time you land a Glory Strike, it unlocks a new attack, so the fight does evolve slightly as you chip away at it. Still, if you've made it this far, you probably won't have much trouble putting this ancient horror down for good. What powers and attacks does the Old One use? Since the Old One is an ancient entity of boundless power, it's really no surprise that it has a plethora of attacks in its arsenal. Throughout the fights, the Old One mixes things up by using a vast range of combat skills like melee whips, teleportation tricks, and tentacle-based assaults, which forces even veteran players to stay on their toes. Swipe. One of the most standard attacks in the Old One's arsenal, where the entity deals 1 to 3 wide mace swipes. A triple swipe sequence begins with the Titan smashing the ground. If the Royal Atlan is positioned behind it, the Old One is forced to adjust its angle to target the player. Fortunately, this attack remains fairly easy to dodge with careful timing. Rise. This is an airborne attack with 2 variations. In the first, the Old One rises briefly before slamming down with its mace, much like the triple swipe, but with added elevation. The second variation is triggered when the player is still at a considerable distance, causing the Old One to soar toward the Atlan and crash down, making positioning and timing essential for surviving this attack. Fool. This is a fairly simple one. The Old One teleports and summons a pink doppelganger. In one version, the clone performs a forward swipe, sending a lethal projectile across the playing area that can cause damage to both the Atlan and any lingering threats. In the other, the doppelganger slams the ground with its mace instead. Though this doesn't launch a projectile, it more than makes up for it by dealing heavy area damage. Tentacle Shot. The Old One creates a dark portal that fires a single tentacle outward. Though slow and telegraphed, it can catch unwary players off guard if not dodged correctly. Tentacle Uprise. Unlocked after the first Glory Strike, this attack sees the Old One ascend into the air while summoning a field of tentacles across the ground. Reminiscent of the Cyber Demon's tactics in Doom 2016, the player can interrupt the Old One mid-air, using the Atlan's newly unlocked shoulder cannons, which fire twin projectiles. Core Explosion. Following the second Glory Strike, the Old One unleashes one of its deadliest moves. It transforms into a clone and generates a glowing pink circle that pulls in the Atlan. If the circle reaches full charge, it erupts in a massive explosion. The only escape is to dash away repeatedly before being drawn into the blast radius. Dash. While not an offensive maneuver, the Old One is the only Titan encountered so far that can dodge the player's attacks by dashing side to side, making it more agile and unpredictable. What secrets and inspirations lie behind the Old Ones? If you still haven't guessed it, let's make it clear. The Old Ones are clearly inspired by Cthulhu, the ancient godlike being that one finds in the tales of H.P. Lovecraft. It's also pretty possible that the Old Ones are actually the star spawn of the original Cthulhu, but that's just speculation at this point. Still, it would be pretty wild if they confirm this. What's the lore on the Old Ones? Cthulhu is undoubtedly one of H.P. Lovecraft's most iconic cosmic entities. This nightmarish creature is mostly described through eerie sculptures and the accounts of disturbed witnesses. Among these, there are two depictions that still remain pretty vivid in the reader's mind. The first was created by the tormented artist Henry Anthony Wilcox, and the second was seized from a cult. Both portray Cthulhu as a monstrous figure, which is a strange amalgamation of numerous elements taken from an octopus, a dragon, and a grotesque human. Cthulhu's head is a writhing mass of tentacles perched atop a scaly, rubbery body with crude wings, clawed limbs, and a terrifying humanoid outline. This creature's mythos is closely linked to the alignment of the stars. Cultists believe that Cthulhu and his kin, the Great Old Ones, can only awaken and roam freely when the stars are right. When the stars are wrong, these beings enter a state of suspended animation, unable to act but never truly dead, preserved through ancient spells. The only direct encounter with Cthulhu in Lovecraft's original stories comes from Gustaf Johansson, a sailor who witnessed the emergence of the sunken city Urlia, after seismic upheaval brought it temporarily to the surface in 1925. Johansson described the entity as a massive, gelatinous green mountain with writhing tentacles, flabby claws, and a scale that can barely be comprehended by the human mind. Even the sight of Cthulhu killed many of his comrades. The architecture of Urlia itself defied the laws of physics, with impossible angles, swallowing crewmen alive. Johansson and a few others managed to flee, but one, William Bryden, was driven insane by the horror, laughing uncontrollably until his death. Subsequent interpretations, particularly those by Lovecraft's literary executor August Derleth, altered Cthulhu's depiction somewhat. In Derleth's work, Cthulhu is a less fixed form, and more a protoplasmic, shape-shifting entity with countless tentacles and a singular eye, enhancing its alien and fluid nature. Later authors, such as Brian Lumley in the Titus Crow series, suggest that the creature encountered by Johansson was not Cthulhu himself, but one of his star spawn, which are lesser beings of similar form, implying the true Cthulhu is even more immense and terrifying than any human has directly encountered. Perhaps the Old Ones from Doom are none other than these star spawns, but I guess we'll never know that for sure. How does Doom's Old One compare to Lovecraft's Cthulhu? One can genuinely make the argument that Doom's Old Ones are a derivative of Lovecraft's Cthulhu, as both these terrifying entities draw from the core concept of ancient godlike beings. But to be honest, they serve very different purposes. Cthulhu, the original, is a true manifestation of cosmic horror, an unknowable, reality-shattering entity whose very existence induces madness and existential dread. In contrast, the Old One is a scary yet tangible boss villain, designed for combat, rooted in Doom's action-oriented, demon-slaying mythology. Yeah, the Old One does borrow from Lovecraftian aesthetics, but it's undeniable that it lacks the psychological terror and philosophical depth of Cthulhu. Ultimately, Cthulhu is a symbol of mankind's insignificance, while the Old One is an epic obstacle meant to be defeated by the player. Marvelous verdict. Well, it's actually no surprise that the Old Ones are pretty damn terrifying. After all, they are derived from one of the most iconic fictional nightmares ever created. However, in our opinion, they are underwhelming when you face them through the course of the game, which makes the encounter slightly less scary than it's actually supposed to be. But what do you think? Did the Old Ones live up to your expectations? Please let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons while you're down there. That's it for now, but don't worry, because we'll catch you in the next one real soon. Goodbye!